Hey everybody, welcome. Let's talk about the current state of Destiny 2 and what I feel like the biggest problem the game may have overall is. Before we get going, the problem we're going to talk about, I am definitely not saying that it's the only problem that the game has. As much as I love D2 overall, the game has multiple flaws in my opinion, some big, some small, and by discussing only one thing today, I am in no way whatsoever claiming that the rest of the game is perfect, or that other core issues are not worth examining. I am, of course, saying this to avoid the inevitable jabroni YouTube comments written in the style of, "Oh, so you don't think that blank is a problem at all?" You know, they're bound to show up no matter what, but what are you gonna do? Okay, moving right along, let's get to the meat and potatoes. As some of you might know, I've been playing Destiny for a long time. The D2 game and experience has improved greatly ever since the game came out, even though it's been a fairly bumpy road overall since year one. The one thing that still very much drives me crazy with the gameplay experience above all other things is the constant relying on RNG tied to endgame level goals and gear. Okay, hold on, before you begin rage typing why you think some other issue is more pressing, and there are other candidates out there for sure, believe me, I do want to hear from you. Let me present my case. Here's an example. Most recently, I wanted to get a really good set of Notorious, aka level 3, Invader armor. I'm aware of all the perks that can drop on each piece of armor, and I know what perks I happen to be looking for on each armor piece. I'm happy-ish to go through the process of doing what I need to do in order to obtain the gear. To recap, first you have to go through the Reckoning enough and complete the Drifter's bounties in order to both obtain your moat synthesizer and then go back and forth between the Reckoning and Gambit Prime in order to upgrade that synthesizer to legendary status. Then you have to go back into Gambit Prime to make sure you earn enough Invader synths required to form powerful moats. Then you have to make the powerful moats. Then you have to go back into the Reckoning and complete the challenge to have that moat converted into a piece of level 3 Invader armor. The problem is that each and every time you do this, you're pulling a lever on a gigantic slot machine. There is no real way to guarantee that the piece of gear you receive will be the piece that you need. And there's also no way to ensure that any of the perks that drop on said armor will be any of the perks you might have been hoping to get. If you don't get what you're looking for, you have to put your head down and keep grinding. Now, I know that complaining about grinding is probably gonna piss a lot of people off, and for good reason. Remember back in year 1 of Destiny 2, weapons did not have random rolls like they do now. Once you'd gotten your first Better Devils, there was no reason to ever try and get a second one because they were all the same. The lack of gear grind, among many other things, severely hurt D2 because in a looter-shooter, you ideally want to have a lot of loot options. So, with that being said, I don't want to go back to the year 1 system by any means, but the length at which you have to currently grind for some pieces of gear truly borders on insane. Let me give you a better example. There's a hand cannon in the game right now that a lot of people I know are kind of keen on. That would be the Service Revolver hand cannon. It's a 180 RPM archetype, which is pretty commonly used, and with the right roll, it can be extremely deadly in PvP to the point where it may be just as viable or even more viable than the Luna's Howl or the Not Forgotten, depending on who you talk to. Gotta admit, that is pretty appealing, especially for people who may not have teammates to play comp with but really want an effective PvP hand cannon comparable to the Luna or the Not Forgotten. Why wouldn't they want to go for the Service Revolver? Seems like a no-brainer. Well, here's where things go a little bit off the rails. This gun does not automatically exist in your starting off loot pool, aka you have to unlock the gun first before you can start earning them as a random reward. In order to unlock the gun, you have to buy it from Zavala at the tower, which I didn't do last season, but that's okay because you can do it right now in this season. But before you buy it from him, you have to complete a triumph called Season 6 Completions, which requires you to complete 40 Vanguard strikes. Well, that's not too bad, right? At least you know exactly what you have to do. Well, hold on, we ain't done yet. Once you finally unlock the gun and add it to your existing loot pool, what are the chances of you getting the gun to drop from a Zavala loot package? Okay, well there's 14 items you can get from Zavala overall. I'm excluding the 2 pinnacle weapons from my calculations, and FYI, if I were to add them to the loot pool, your eventual odds would be even lower, so chill with that in advance. 9 weapons and 5 pieces of armor that you can get from Zavala, so we have 14 options total. So you do a few strikes, you rank up your Vanguard rank, Zavala says, hey, good job there, buddy, and gives you a package. A 1 in 14 chance that you'll get a service revolver. But come on, you don't want just any service revolver, right? You want one with a specific roll. After all, if it drops with a crappy roll, what's the point? You want a specific roll, the God roll for PvP. Looking at the weapons available perks that can drop with the gun, here's everything we can get. There are 6 options total for scope, but the gun drops with 2. 9 options in column 2, but again, you get 2 on the gun at least. 5 options in column 3 and 5 options in column 4. And don't forget about your masterwork perk, 4 available options there. You want one very specific, good for PvP God roll, and you're not gonna stop until you get the roll that you want. With all the variables I've thrown out there, there is a 1 in 18,900 chance of you getting your God roll hand cannon out of that Zavala package. 1 in 18,900. That is a 0.005% chance of you getting the roll you want from that package. You got a better chance at Half-Life 3 coming out before you get a roll on that gun that you're looking for. Hey, but Fallout, that's too extreme. Surely, if you just got 1 or 2 perks on the hand cannon that you really liked, that would be enough, and you would probably stop grinding at that point. Okay, fair enough. Let's say you would settle for a semi-perfect roll. Maybe the masterwork and the scope and the mag perks, they all suck, but you're just happy to get the 2 perks that you wanted in column 3 and column 4. That's still a 1 in 350 chance. Again, and that's only settling for a half good roll, a 0.28% chance. That's under 1% for a borderline semi-perfect roll. The odds of getting exactly what you're looking for in D2 on your weapon or armor, to me, seem really damn small. Ah, come on, Fallout, that's too specific of an example. Alright, fine. It definitely exists outside of that hand cannon, though, and you know that it does. I still haven't gotten the 1,000 voices from the Last Wish raid. Granted, before you type, I know, I am definitely not an avid raider by any means, but I'm friends with many people who are and who have done over 60, even 70 raid completions account-wide, and they have not gotten the weapon to drop. And I know Bungie has addressed that they are going to bump up the drop rate specifically for that gun due to the low drop rate, but it's still a perfect example of why a lot of people get really frustrated with the current loot model when playing D2. We'll put up with chasing the carrot on the stick, but not if the stick is so long that you feel like you can't even see the carrot at the end of it anymore. My girlfriend needs the ghost shell to drop from the Last Wish raid in order to complete her triumph, and despite raiding multiple times each week, she still has not gotten it to drop. I know that it's in Bungie's interest to keep things relatively unchanged. After all, if we can get what we want too easily, we'll eventually have nothing to chase and stop playing the game. But making things too tied to RNG creates a similar issue. If you're out there watching this video of Destiny 2 in 2019, odds are that you have some friends who have stopped playing D2 for one reason or another, but one of those reasons might be because the gear they want is too difficult to obtain due to RNG. Again, I really want to get a God roll service revolver so I can try it out for myself, show it to you, all that fun stuff. But if you think I'm going through 40 strikes just to unlock the gun, and then after that go through countless more strikes just for a thin chance at a semi-decent roll, then you're just out of your mind. It is literally sitting in front of a slot machine and pulling the lever over and over. As I mentioned earlier, I don't want to go back to the system of year 1 D2 where we have absolutely no variety in our weapons at all. But that being said, I don't want to have this feeling where you put in endless hours and come up empty-handed because the exact gear you want is tied to RNG. After months of the weapon existing, I recently got my first ever, that's right, my first ever retold tale shotgun. I was so happy to get it, and guess what? It was hot garbage. I've wanted a good roll on that gun for eons, and to have my first one be an unsatisfactory bad roll is just a virtual kick in the nuts. There has to be some way, some middle ground where players can still put in the grind and put in the time and obtain the exact gear they're looking for without feeling like RNG's bitch. Maybe some way where you could build the ideal piece of armor from scratch. Like if you had that level 3 invader armor, now pretend there was some way to blueprint out in-game exactly what perks you wanted on that armor. And once you have it planned out, it's your job to go out into the world of the game and grind out quests or grind out activities that will allow you to progress towards completing that piece of armor or gun exactly how you want it to be. There's still a grind, there's still a carrot to chase, and the end result is you getting exactly what you're looking for. No RNG involved. I'm just spitballing here. I'm not saying that would be a perfect solution, but again, something's gotta give here. Chasing god rolls or certain pieces of gear at all in this game very often feels hopeless, and it hurts the long-term gameplay experience overall. At least it does in my opinion anyway. Alright. Feel like I've rambled on long enough. Please join me in the discussion on this. Weigh in with your thoughts down below in the comment section. How do you feel about the current gear chase in Destiny? Do you like the odds of getting what you're grinding for? Do you think it could be done in a different way? How so? And I know it's crazy to ask for this on YouTube, but try to keep it civil down there. Do me another favor, would you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already? Free to do, and you'll be making my day. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.